It's the winner bracket finals. Both of these players, top two in the group stages of the Korean group, which is obviously not easy to do. So both of them finishing top two, got to the winner bracket, and both won their initial winner bracket semi-final. To make it here, as in the bottom right-hand side, our Blue Protoss player, that is a lag spike. Oof. Maybe that's on Zest's side, because Zest sometimes does have some funky internet, so let's just give this a moment. Looks like he might be looking to fix up a couple of things here. Gives me a chance to say thank you so much. mglass222 gifting out a sub to Benchwarmer38. That's going to be their first ever sub on the channel. Thank you so much. And ADM Hydra Lloyd GB just extended their sub throughout July, as it does look as though it was a Zest internet problem. He's had a couple of those lately. As we'll get ready to go into this best of 5 winner bracket finals in a moment or two. Alright, so just going to be double checking Q was there.
Game resumed.
And we are going to resume. So back into this, and let's actually try and get our intros off. So again, both of them top two in their group stages, winning the winner bracket semi-final. In the bottom right-hand side, the Blue Protoss player, as it's a Dragon Phoenix Gaming Showdown. This is Zest. And in the natural expansion of Zest is his teammate Cure, the Red Terran, who was 7-0 in this tournament in the Korean group stage, and that's just a statement. Those Korean group stages are not easy. They have a lot of top players in them, and Cure just swept through everybody. He lost some maps along the way, but he won them all. And then, of course, beat Clem, who looks to be playing amazing so far today. Beat Clem in that winner bracket semi-final as well. So altogether here, Q has been looking great in this event. Of course, this being the winner bracket finals, the winner moves through is grand finals. Guaranteed top two, while the loser is unfortunately going to be knocked down to the lower bracket and has to play that lower bracket final. That will be a bit of a slug, because if you have to play this series, then you'd have to play that one, and then go into the grand final after that as well. So that's generally how this goes. This is not looking good for Zest, as Q gets this bunker up in the natural. Zest has no idea about this. Like, he knew about the barracks not being across the map. He doesn't know that it's in his natural, and the fact that he's not checking for the bunker or anything is kind of concerning, because you can get so much damage off. And especially because now you can build Marines and rally those into the bunker, you can get more damage done as someone is lagging again. Zest will lose one probe, we'll pull a few probes in, and trying to fight here. I was going to see a second probe going down, so just going to be seeing 2 probes falling already is a pretty good start. The Stalker might get the Reaper. Nope, Kira has that well calculated, and that is going to be the STV push back a little bit. Reaper and a Marine just going to hit this Nexus from afar. And just going to work their way through that as we've got ourselves this other Marine going to show up, jump into that bunker. And then again, just keep the pressure up, keep this Nexus under fire. And get as much damage done here as possible. They're just going to hop back up into the main base. Stalker guarding it though. You got to make a play at some point because this battery is on the way up. You got to make a play obviously to save the Nexus, right? One more Marine, that's going to be the end of the barracks production. You've basically hit maximum, maximum racks production here, because you're not going to put anything else in that bunker. And if it's not in the bunker, it's pretty much going to go down anyway. As that Nexus obviously will now be able to at least super battery if it wants to on that battery on the low ground. Not sure it's necessarily what you want to do, as the SCV, does go down. He kind of probably forgot about the fact that his bunker's full here, right? This is one of those scenarios which you don't end up in all too often. So I'd imagine he maybe thought the bunker wasn't full. He tried to put his SCV in, then he tried to get a Reaper out the bunker, put the SCV in it, just messed up that micro a little bit. Not sure it would have made much of a difference, but what is great is he forced the super battery at the very end here. So that's 50 energy early game down the drain, plus that early battery investment. It cost you just a few Marines, and that's generally going to be a very good setup here from Cure. Able to, just able to get a lot done. Really fantastic opening when we go back, and if you want to go and analyze it and everything, it's kind of the best it's ever going to be off something like that, as we see a barracks. Number 2 is going to be on the way up in the main base. We're going to have 2 racks here from Cure very soon, and Zest's opening is just going to be blink into a faster third. That's something we saw him doing a lot yesterday against Hero Marine. Never really got overly aggressive with the Blink Stalkers yesterday against Hero Marine. He did open a Robo facility one time, he did open Stargate one time, but in general it was a bit more of a passive Zest, which sometimes Zest is the play to go and leap on opportunities and to go and jump on chances to get damage done and stuff, so yeah, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't say it was surprising per se. Definitely something to think about. Just gonna be seen a couple of SCVs continue to produce here. Raven is on the way out from Cure. And that Blink is about halfway done as well. With a couple more gateways coming up into this main base. And you really do just have Stalkers and Sentries just kind of poised everywhere, really just looking to stay safe here on Romanticide, of course, one of the maps you can get into a nice macro game on. Would be kind of surprised. Now, I'm going to say this with a little bit of caution because Zest currently is 3 gas. It is looking like this is going to be an aggressive Zealot Stalker setup to begin with, but I'd be surprised if he stuck around on that for too long, because what you've got to notice here is that it's Romanticides. If you play aggressive Zealot Stalker, how are you ever going to justify those Zealots and Stalkers running up into your opponent's bases? So I imagine this is going to be maybe Zealot Stalker initially, but not too far behind it in the idea of transitioning away into something a little bit different. I'm just going to chill out down on that bottom side. Just going to be seeing our Temple Archives building up in the main base. And here come these couple of Widow Mines starting to unload. First one connects, just a single probe going down there. Now the other Widow Mine is going to get burrowed up, and that's going to be kaboom on a Stalker attempt. But of course it blinks away. So one Widow Mine still alive, but lost mining time here more than anything is the real gain. Anything to disrupt that Protoss economy. As this will bring all these probes back, so it's actually a pretty sizable delay, right? 15-20 seconds of mining just not happening. And that's reflected in the income advantage. You can see how Kia springs up into the lead for a little while. So yeah, pretty significant little spike of income there. As there's the Storm on the way up. So like I said, we are not going to stick around on like pure Zealot Stalker or anything this game. He didn't even go into it initially. He actually did just add on the extra gases, put that Temple Archives down, and it is just going to be Storm from the get-go. Sign up for that as our Stalker heads to the upper left-hand side. Another couple of medevacs going to make their way out through into the middle here as well. So all of this joining up, that Stalker going to patrol a little bit. Stimpack plus 1 Stimpack combat shield plus 1 attack upgrades. All of these continuing as our Cyclone does lock on and chase that Stalker out of here. Is able to pick that up nice and quickly. So Stalker goes down. Now just going to see everything else continuing out down this bottom side. Cyclone gets locked onto again. A few Marines and Marauder stemming forward, chasing those Stalkers back once again. And our charge upgrade going to be finishing fairly soon as we push on in. And our Stalkers having a blink on away from this. Storm comes down, units dodge back. Widow Mine doesn't get to go off before it's killed by the Storm. And Zest is positioned here to potentially just deny us before, I mean, really is denying us before he gets in position, but the High Templar moved too far forward. Oh no, one more tank shot, and all the High Templar are gonna get popped. And that is absolutely massive here for Cure. So all of those HD go down. This immediately makes this a way less effective trade, as now Zest is going to start, well, trying to come through just a little bit further forward there, but this was not a position you had to fight in either, right? You've held it off, you've pushed it back, you've not allowed to get in range of your base. Don't know if you really needed to stay as aggressive as he was being there. As these few Marines trying to stem forward, trying to catch that Observer, not quite finding it just yet. The rest of this army around this bottom side is hanging around. Zealots in production, plus 1 attack on the way. Here comes this army of Zest, going to start moving through to the center, so a lot of Zealots out through the middle of the map. As you will see this army of Cure starting to push through as well. A couple force fields. Well, Zest right now really does not want the fight to happen because obviously you are sending so many units across to the other side. I mean, to be fair, I talked about Romanticide not being able to attack, but when the base is wide open, that doesn't matter, right? That's just not a thing. So it's going to be interesting because Cure's going to recognize his opportunity to push on forward here. No batteries available on this base. The super battery can't come down just yet either. The drop goes in the natural. And it's going to start putting in some work as well. There's a few Zealots warping over here. At the same time, obviously, you've got to remember these Zealots are putting in work on the other side of the map, and they are working their way through reinforcements and all sorts. So they're going to put in some serious damage. Zest is taking serious damage. Everybody is just in a bit of a mess in this game. And as it looks as though the bottom side attack is going to retreat back home. is Cure. I think Cure comes out worse for wear in this because at the end of it, his attack on the bottom did take a few losses. The attack in the natural takes some losses. So Zest defends without really losing too much in comparison to all the damage these Zealots did. I mean, they're still shutting down reinforcements as well. And that's a big thing, that Cure is not getting any reinforcements out, while Zest is still reinforcing. GG's, and Zest is going to pick up the first map here in our winner bracket finals. Yeah, it's not that... And the problem was that just the information for, especially the NetEase qualifiers, I think was the big thing, because they just kind of appeared. Like, I knew they were going to happen, but I don't think anyone could have predicted they were going to run 7 different days of Korean qualifiers, you know? I think that especially is the was the kind of the shocker, because even if they just ran like 3 or 4 days, we would have had a couple of extra days to just run the rest of the Korean stuff, you know? So yeah, I mean, and also, I had my schedule set out for this way in advance before those qualifiers came through and stuff, so it's just been too much StarCraft. It literally is just a case of we have so many events going on, more than anything else, which is kind of crazy. Hey, thank you so much, G-Toxic, for that 5-month resub on the Prime. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, good problem to have, right, as this barracks gets proxied up over on that left-hand side. Yeah, good problem to have, really. And like I say, at the end of the day, we all work around each other as best we can. Sometimes things are going to overlap. You know, it's not a perfect world. You know, it's my job to cast tournaments, so I can't just take a break and not cast anything forever. Otherwise, I don't make any money and I can't do what I do. So, even if the schedule is full, there's only so much I can do without saying, well, just got to do something, you know? And that's true for a bunch of tournaments. If they got to run their stuff, they got to run their stuff. You can't just delay stuff forever, you know? Hey, thank you, Smallpox, as well, just as we have, this engineering bay block coming in post proxy racks. Cerebro on the way up over here. Let me just quickly say thank you to Smallpox. Just going to start to say a 2-month resub on the Prime. Mark the occasion with an autos code. Stalkers are so fast, you blink and they are gone. Wow. Alright, so, thank you so much for the 2-month resub on the Prime. Reaper comes out, obviously different because there's no Nexus because of the engineering bay block. And this actually puts you in a weird position as Zest, because what do? Do you put your Zealot on the engineering bay? Apparently, yes. That means you don't have a Zealot chasing down this Reaper, which means the Reaper just gets a little bit more free reign up in this main base. And kind of just do whatever it wants to do. So this Reaper gets off to a great start, gets a kill. And obviously, now you've got a Zealot and Stalker. They're not really set up too brilliantly. This Reaper's going to pop out, dive for the main base as well. The other Reaper's going to come back toward the natural initially. Nope, they're both going to be in the natural, and they're going to get that probe. Not quite. Thought about diving for it. Doesn't commit, which I agree with as well. I think you're going to lose the Reaper if you try and commit to that one, so that makes sense. Don't disagree there. As we just wait for our next little step of this. So, just going to see how Reaper's going home. The barracks coming back too. Obviously, expansion coming up from Cure here. As we get this ready to rumble, as this one probe has been in this main base, locked in this entire time. He knew what was coming. He was just waiting to die, poor Proby. He was waiting to die, and just no one would kill him. It's a real feels bad, man, isn't it? Alright, a couple of Reapers start to press forward then into the center. We are going to see this barracks secure, still making its way back home. Obviously, the Reapers will still create some map control for you. Doesn't look like Zest has too many intentions of being aggressive with the initial units. As he adds his second gateway, no robo facility yet, as the blink already started, so it would seem to me that this is also, once again, just going to turn out to be what? Is this just another round of just taking that third base early? Zest really has just been, you know, not saying that Zest is, like, always super aggressive, like, he plays macro as well, but, like, there's always an aggressive twinge to his kind of gameplay, right? And it feels like lately there's just a little bit more of a macro focus on it in this PvT matchup. We saw that a little bit yesterday, and we're seeing it a bit today. Especially that last game, right? Just really said, like, you know, from the start, let's macro. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, like, Zest can't macro and stuff. Just, there was nothing that I would, you know, if you put a barcode on these two players and you asked me to name who they were, Zest would not be my go-to for someone who opens up the way he just did in that last, you know, in that last match. So, I was going to see how first Widowmine actually does go off for a probe on the low ground. Now the two Widowmines into the main base going to burrow on up as well, and they're going to fire into the assimilator. There is still another Widowmine here, and initially felt like Zest didn't actually realize that, so it was very close to actually having that Widow Mine go for a huge connection. This doesn't quite happen in the end. As a matter of fact, gonna hang out over here, that Raven and the Stim Pack on the way up from Cure. Let me just get this settled down, ready to go. That Blink coming through as well. Another Sentry finishing, Stim +1. All of this on the way, so upgrades coming through quite nicely. Let me just continue to go through for the moment, just waiting for the next kind of play. Obviously, the Widow Mine drop, very standard, something you see day in and day out in this matchup, so that's not really all too out of the ordinary. And the follow-up's looking, I mean, obviously pretty similar on both sides too, to what you would usually expect to see in a situation like this. Widow Mine does just about sneak around the back. I kind of like this little burrow. It's somewhere where it's going to hide for now, and maybe at some point just unburrows, runs in, burrows when there's like a lot of probes there. It's the kind of thing you don't really keep an eye out for, slash even if you are, it's going to move so quickly that it might not make a difference. I think he's going to move it in now. I feel like you could have maybe saved it for longer. In the end, he Zest sees it instantly and shuts it down. Obviously, from our perspective, maybe would have been best to keep it back for a while, but again, we can obviously see a lot more than the players can see. Because now Q is going to pause. Apparently everybody's having some, everyone's having some issues today. This has been a very troubled series with a few pauses already in it. Paused up and raring to go. Sorry, go, says Zest. I misclicked. I managed to press 2 without having my typing up, so we went on to someone's vision for a moment. All good. Sometimes I forget that I'm also the man in charge of the the countdowns to get these games resumed, you know. Let's see, that hallucination, obviously just trying to pick up information, trying to get some info running here and there. Let's see just have our army pressing forward a little bit. 2 bases for the moment, obviously a 3rd CC coming up, a 4th, 4th, and 5th rack, so it shouldn't be all too aggressive from Cure here. Now Zest is once again moving into that storm, so he seems to be in a bit of a stormy mood today. As, yeah, he's just going for that repeatedly at the moment. Looks like it will be done before Cure gets anything too crazy done here, as he's already kind of held back with the rest of this army, so the rest of this is just going to be pulling on back and away. Just going to be seeing a Raven coming through here as well, so bringing the Raven back around. I'm just going to see the rest of this continue to move on through. Getting the battery here just about to be finished up. And here comes the army of Cure making its way out through the center. See what is going to happen next. So finally he's going to commit to this push. At the same time, Zealots are counterattacking. They're going to hit the 3rd base. And now we've got this little bit of a situation. A couple of Widow Mines will get a Stalker. And this kind of feels like the last game, but in a little bit of a different scale, right? You know, last game, Zealots across the map as Cure's trying to fight. This game, there's Zealots across the map as Cure's trying to fight, but it's just not as large of a set as Zealots. And they're going to get held off mostly by the bunker. Maybe could have ran by and actually just gone into the mineral line and done a lot more. Unfortunately, that's just not how it plays out, and at times, you know, it doesn't always just go the way you want it to go. And continue to move our army around into the center here. So he's just going to pull it back. I'd still say not bad from Zest, right? You get 9 SCVs, and that's never a bad thing. And when you cost him a few Zealots, and it definitely distracts Cure enough to say, hey, you know, don't fight me right now. I'm going to keep you busy. I'm going to keep you distracted. So that's obviously worth keeping in mind as well, as our army collects together around the center. Zealots are going to come through this bottom side of the map as well again, so making their way across here. Just going to be hanging around for a moment or two. I love that Zest is always poised to deal damage, right? It makes him such a scary opponent because you know he's like always ready to come in, you know, cause issues, basically. At the moment, he takes a position out down to the 6 o'clock. And turn this around, gonna jump onto this set of rocks here. Prism comes through for the storm drops. This is something that Zest loves to do that other players really don't. And there's a lot of energy on these high Templars. 16 SCVs died as they stacked on that refinery. This actually did some serious damage. One more storm, and now the rest of the units show up. He actually goes into the storm momentarily to have a little bit of a look to see what exactly is going on there. And now we're just going to pull it back. So 17 workers later, and Zest is able to put some serious damage into work. And we're going to pull it back up through into the center as well, so setting up over there. Now we're just going to move it around. Again, not overcommit into anything. Does he need to fight right now? No, he just took a fantastic fight. Zero reason to go fight again just yet. You know, let that economy deficit sink in a little bit for Cure and then go. And Zest, only 66 probes, by the way, means his army size can actually be pretty large, but he will not build up like a bank very quickly, as these two armies just completely miss each other. So we are going to start base trading. Now, Zest gets the initial jump on this. Here's the thing, Zest could recall. He could recall if he feels like there's a scenario in which he can do a lot of damage, get home, and minimize the damage he is taking. So let's see if he decides to recall at any point. That's a very useful tool to have, and that's a very good option to keep in mind here. As we come through, again, this depot's going to go down. On this bottom side, you go on the other side of the map, you can see what Zest is doing. He actually put a couple storms down, apparently, and hurt this army a little bit as we move on through. Pushing into this main base. Stalker's going to go chase down whatever they can. He's going to get through for pretty much all the production now. His production's still alive. He is warping in. Looks like he's just warping into this main base over here. Looks like he's not going to recall. Well, he could recall down to the bottom left. That's actually a pretty cool play. That is a possibility. Still has mining down there. Also, he would have to rebuild all of his production, but I think Zest is pretty confident in the army that he currently has. I don't think he's majorly concerned about losing out on, you know, in terms of army, and if he, you know, this shouldn't ever end up in a draw or anything, as he's building the Nexus in this natural of his opponent as well. So there really is just a couple structures left. It's basically this command center. That's one orbital that actually got to fly away. Is the one thing that's going to keep here in this game at the moment. As few probes pull back, he is going to lose the bottom left, so he decided not to actually recall down here. Instead, he's going to send his probes to that bottom right-hand side. I mean, he still has a few structures in the main to play with and stuff. He doesn't have... Oh my god, he's actually in a position where if he doesn't... Obviously, if you cancel this Nexus, you can afford another, but you can't afford another Nexus on top of this one. So he needs to get that to actually finish and just mine a little bit more to have some money available. This Nexus down here is going to go down. Looks like that should be fine, right? This is absolutely a winning position for our Protoss player. Put on mine, aims, actually hits on a Stalker that was already out of there, already killed. Yeah, I kind of like this from Zest's point of view too. You know, what you're doing here is just being a little bit aggressive with a few Stalkers that have high mobility, so they're able to come in, pick off a unit or two, back away. You've got a base you can defend, and you know that's a base you can defend, and you're pretty confident that your opponent probably isn't mining at the same time. Again, it is this orbital command, and that's the only thing stopping Zest right now, as he's just going to scout around with this Observer. Is the only thing stopping Zest, he's got an Observer here too, it's the only thing that's actually stopping Zest from winning this game. It's the only structure left, so that one orbital, and I think Zest is making the right assumption that his opponent does not have a way to actually start mining, so he's just going to sit back and mine himself and go from here, which is absolutely the correct call. So Zest looking really good for game 2 at the moment, as we're going to pop up that Guardian Shield. Down the ramp he goes. Zelda's going to start charging through. Storm is flanking from the other side. Zest has had enough. He just wants to fight. This Raven's now going to go down after dropped a few auto turrets. Zest is going to continue forward. Pulled the probes as well. Zest just has zero chill, man. Didn't really need to fight. This is going to, I mean, if you've got the better army, it's obviously worth fighting, because then you're not taking the risk of maybe there's an orbital mining that you missed or something. Cure is going to lose everything. GG is called. He's about to lose that orbital. That would have been game. Obviously, he has no units left anyway. Zest 2, Cure 0, and Zest is looking to speedrun his match. He is down 0-2. Looking to see what he can get up to here. As he was in the Spring Championship last year, and he got 3-0'd by Hearthstone. So what a change up from last year to this year. As Cure's that blue Terror on top right-hand side. Again, looking to defend his Spring Championship title. In the bottom left is the red Protoss player, Zest. You win this, you go to the Grand Finals. You've got one best of 7 between you and the Spring Championship. Of course, Clem, in that lower bracket, will be waiting for the loser of this series to play out the lower bracket finals. And that's where we currently stand here today. Probe just currently boosting out this one probe of Zest, making its way out up to the top sides. Just moving along here. Nice and easily so far. Nothing too crazy just yet. As it hops up into the main base, comes all the way around. And it's just going to come through to basically get a bit of a scout off more than anything. So, scouting out over here through the main. Probe taking a little bit of damage as we do just have the command center dropping down on that natural expansion. So getting that up and ready to go. And for the first time in the series, no proxy racks from Cure, so he's going to back away from those styles. As honestly, I haven't really hated what the proxy racks have gotten done. It's the mid game that Cure has a problem in, so it's not the early game, it's not the setup, it's not his build. It's just dealing with the mid game, and especially the aggression and stuff that Zest keeps showing up with. That has been the real problem at the end of the day here. As this Reaper heads on down to the bottom left-hand side. It's going to scout around. A little bit of a patrol going to take place over with this Reaper as well. It's just getting that set up. There's that Stargate from Zest coming through here as well. It's just getting that Stargate up and running. It moves around. Go back up to the upper left-hand side. Just gonna have the Adept moving through. Just gonna pull back down a little bit. A couple of Marines on the way out. Again, a third barracks on the way from Cure as well. All of this just on the way in. And right here, as we see this Adept gonna shade on by. He's gonna try and get aggressive. So, Possessed looking for some damage. He's not gonna commit the Adept shade. And is just gonna fall it back. So the Stargate opening, a real change of pace from the Twilight Council. And it's gonna be an Oracle to begin. We'll see if Zest wants to also go for Phoenix behind this. It is Oxide, one of the shorter maps. Terrans like to push on this map a lot, and obviously with this 2 racks, 3 racks setup, there's going to be a lot of bioforces. So what Zest really wants to do here is if he does go Phoenix, he needs to figure out what's up, and that's what the Oracle's good for, because the Oracle will at least find out what's going on, how many racks there are, etc. So Oracle go across, get some scout information, report back, and then Zest can make a good call about what to do with the Phoenix. Because typically you want to go to like 5 Phoenix or so. That's where they're very powerful. That's where they can get good harassment damage, etc. And you tech from there. But against the 3 racks, if you go for 5 Phoenix, you're not going to have any units to deal with the first 3 racks push. So seeing this right now, Zest, you can see it instantly cancels the Phoenix and builds a second Oracle. So he completely changes his mind based on the fact that this is a bio opener. And as he goes into this now, let's see what he wants to do. I mean, part of the reason for an additional Oracle might just be that he doesn't see any good way for his opponent to defend it, right? There's no Cyclone out, there's no Viking available, so Oracle's going to be pretty darn annoying for a long time without being, at risk. So I imagine that's part of the reason to go into extra Oracles. He's going to go 3 Oracles. You know what he might try and do? He wants to get really crazy, is he might try to just keep on building Oracles and overwhelm with Oracles. You know, even go past 3, go to like 4 or so. And just go for this kind of like Oracle kind of maybe Adept or so, like just kind of bust through the Bioforce. Let's see if he builds more than this additional Oracle. We'll find out soon. As not a lot of the front here. We're going to get rid of 1 Marine to begin with. The Oracle's just rallying out, of course. 1 Oracle across the map's making its way back home as well. Looks like Kira isn't too confident about trying to push on in or anything. Now he's going to stim. Now he's going to try and jump on this. There's a battery back here. A couple force fields go down. This is where the Oracles are going to need to activate. And they will get to chasing this army down. And a few extra Marines showing up. That's where the Oracles turn. Here's the one issue is that the Oracles are going to be kind of low on energy now. not so bad. They actually still have enough to activate and to fight one more time, so actually is just going to be okay. Good call from Zest. Good scout with that first Oracle. This is the kind of thing that you just die to if you go Phoenix. Because if you just go Phoenix, right from the start as well, like if you build one Phoenix and you don't scout with that Phoenix, and you end up just going like 3 or 4 Phoenix, and you're kind of like banking the Phoenix to catch a mine drop, and then this army hits you, you're just dead. So for Zest, really important that he went Oracle first, and then responded to what he saw coming. Is going to try and stem into the natural this time. There's a battery here that will super battery. Gets targeted down instantly. Zest was just out of position. All 3 oracles go down, so all of his tech units just died. Uh-oh, Zest's in a little bit of trouble. I mean, he is going to clean up this army, but is he even going to clean it up very easily? He does actually. He doesn't really lose much in the process. So 5 probes. Losing the oracles is obviously kind of painful. He just wasn't quite ready for Cure to go in the different direction, was he? Not in the slightest. His few Marines will continue up top, and everything will regather back at home. Alright, well, settling down from here. The biggest thing here again, I think, is the fact that now there's no revelations on the maps. There's not going to be any scouting for Zest compared to what there should be. You look at what else Zest has. He basically has like a basic gateway army. Blink isn't even done yet. So that's definitely a problem. And the next fight or two for Zest may be a little bit difficult to make work. Obviously, he's up on 3 bases. The whole point of this is getting a good eco out. You can trade that into a really good amount of gateway forces. But again, that typically is going to be gateway forces that have Blink, that have charge. Without those upgrades, his army really just ain't that good. Io is going to turn it back around. Probe moving up the left. That's going to get to the top here soon. And in fact, takes a couple of mines down to the bottom right. Just going to see a little bit more bio continue to move around as well. Scans in. Is he not going to get that observer? It's always a nice little save. The Stalker's just going to have Blink now, so they can start to do this. Pick away at a couple of units, Blink away. Anything you can do to reduce the power of this Bioforce. That's a stim. Uh-oh, here he goes. That's going to have to drop the force fields. Again, has to kind of react on the fly here. You can tell he was not ready for this fight to start out. I don't think Kier really had the numbers to make it work anyway, but that is all the force fields and Guardian Shield energy used. It's got 1 more Guardian Shield left. That's about it, and at the same time, Widow Mines show up to get 5 workers, so the multi-prong from Cure is good, attacking and using that as a chance to get his Widow Mines into position, using that opportunity, and trying to make the most of that. All the way to the left side here, where we're going to see another pylon is just going to get cleaned out, so pylon picked off, cleanup happening, Cure going to come back through towards the center, and then Observer it's just going to come overhead. You're going to see the Medevac Bioforce back into the middle. Obviously, Cure 3rd CC behind this, continuing to upgrade 2-1 upgrades. Building rapidly, as Zest is going to try and attempt to make his way into his own tech choice. Loses an Observer here, so loses some of his vision. Is going to be that Robobay. It is going to be Colossi / Disruptors. Is the one you'd rather go for than the other here? You might want to go Disruptors first because you're a little afraid of just this army being on your front doorstep. Disruptors build fast, you don't need to get extended thermal lance for them. And to clean out the mines, the Disruptors can actually do a really good job as well, because the Widow Mines, if they get hit by Disruptors, just get 1 shot. So Disruptor shot here would just get all the Widow Mines, right? Zest struggling to survive at the moment, though. Gix Results have just warped in. He's struggling to get rid of the Marauders. Now, he actually has... he had 2 Immortals, but one of them kind of got caught up on its own fight. As he comes through now, these Widow Mines all got to activate. Zest is going to clean it up, and he is going to try and blink to chase it down. A couple of Zealots from the other side kind of slows down as well. They don't last very long. As it is just going to be Colossi, so Zest will aim for the reliable splash damage, not the, oh my god, I need to get like a magical shot off or anything. This is splash damage, which should just be consistent. It should just be able to, you know, as long as you can protect those Colossi, it should just be fine. Zest is just not responding to these Stalkers. Oh, I think Zest is lagged out.
Game paused.
Zest has some serious internet issues at the moment. As we might have to do a he's just gonna say go. These guys are gonna have to realize that I'm not the referee here. That was a yeah, I'm not the referee. Yeah. They figured it out. Alright, cool. That's just brutal for Zest. He just lost about 5-6 Stalkers that he shouldn't have lost, and I think this game's heading towards kind of a bad state anyway for Zest, but that obviously doesn't help, right? I mean, that could have been a few extra units. I thought he would have asked for a rehost to resume from replay just a few seconds before the lag spike. But he doesn't, and maybe he just felt like this game wasn't going his way anyway. And that is just going to be GG. As Cure gets always. Hope you're doing well. And thank you for the donation as we dive on into game number 4. So we do get to a game 4 today. Hurrah! I was kind of looking as though we might end up with a couple 3-0s back-to-back, which would have not have been... Which is never what... Nobody ever wants that, right? Nobody ever wants to see 2 back-to-back 3-0s or anything, so... As you get this set up in the bottom left-hand side, our Red Protoss player this Dragon Phoenix Gaming Showdown in the winner bracket finals of the WardiTV Spring Championship 2021. Bottom left is Zest, and upper right is Cure, and he's going to proxy 2 racks here. Okay, so large map. Cure does not want to play that macro game. He's just going to proxy up 2 barracks. We've seen this a fair amount lately. There's 2 racks, Marine proxy and TVP. If Protoss doesn't see it happening or setting up at all, then you can actually end up in a pretty rough position for this. As this probe is going to move on through, heading into the middle of the map. So you will scout and notice no racks. Now, you got to remember what happened earlier in this series as well. The proxy racks with the Reapers and so on. If Zest responds to this like this is just proxy 1 racks Reaper, he can just die. So he might get the information of no racks. But if he does, if he auto assumes kind of, oh, you're doing this again, kind of like what happened earlier, then Zest could be in trouble, because that's not going to be the same response as what you need against 2 racks of Marines. Against this, you really do want to be building a Zealot, and he does start a Zealot. Now, one thing Zest can pick up on is the gas timing. It's a very subtle thing, but the gas timing here is obviously going to be later because you went 2 racks, then the gas. So that's one way to figure out what's going on here exactly. Zest knows. He starts a second gateway. He knows for sure what's up. Yeah, he 100% knows. Pylon on the high ground as well. And Cure's just going to go about this with a bit of a low ground bunker. So not even going to go too aggressive here initially, Cure. As the Zealot will come through. Will it want to actually contest the low ground? 2 Marines there. It's going to be kind of tough. Zealot is obviously pretty tanky. Now a 3rd Marine showing up. I think that's the moment at which the Zealot just says, yep, not much I can really do. He's going to turn around and gets the SCV, so not bad. One of the SCVs spins off into the distance. As the Stalker here obviously provides good micro ability, and with the Stalker micro you can obviously clean up these Marines, but of course then you still have to get through the bunker at some stage. That's what the second gateway is for, obviously just powering up your unit count a little bit faster than usual. He will go Twilight Council. I think Zest probably feels fairly safe here. He recognizes that Cure's just bunkering low ground. He's probably not going to commit to this too heavily and try and push up. So he's just going to put that Twilight Council down before he starts another unit. He feels safe enough to do that and to get away with it. As this one Marine continues over as well, and is just going to jump in towards this natural bunker. On the other side of the map, and the Assimilator goes down. He's actually going to also block the factory from getting an add-on. So this probe actually makes some cute plays. Now we're going to see a Hellion on the way up. And with the gas steal as well, there's only so much you can afford. So this is actually a pretty cool probe. This actually delivers. And, yeah, I mean, there's nothing to kill off this Assimilator either. A Marine has made its way back home. The racks are flying home. Hero is just going to mass bunker, but you know what doesn't matter? Masses of bunkers if your opponent just blinks past it. So, that could be what we aim for here, right? This is maybe just a huge kind of delay here from Zest. Doing anything he can to delay a setup that would deal with Blink Stalkers. I mean, by the time he gets up to Blink, at this rate, he's going to be in a pretty decent spot of Stalker count, right? He actually puts a Nexus down over on this left-hand side, so he will expand. Still 1 base here from Cure. Yeah, but 1 base with 1 gas, I mean, you have no choice but to expand. You're just floating minerals, so he drops the expansion in. I mean, probably was expecting to expand at some stage around this anyway, right? I was just going to see the Assimilator finally taken down. And now you can start up that refinery, but this is absolutely not how you wanted things to go to begin here. Marines jump out and they grab that probe. Still waiting on the blink. I'm still expecting. I mean, you can see right now the Stalker's already pressuring across the map. Gets a depot kill. As an SCV goes down too. The real question is here is will you be able to get high ground vision to actually... Because honestly, you're getting to the point where high ground vision, you could blink and kill the tank. I mean, again, the question, do you need to? Your expansion is up in a bit of an awkward spot. I guess you need to clear out these bunkers first more than anything. And use these Stalkers as a chance to transfer the probes, as using the battery as well. He's going to grab that SCV, and again, with the blink on the Stalkers, he will be able to keep these alive without losing anything. As that's going to be one bunker killed, no salvage, of course. Wants to deny that. Don't let Cure get any money back from this. And these last few Marines will go down. A little bit of hull damage on a Stalker. Not really too much of significance. And altogether here, I really like what Zest has gotten into, because now you move across the map. You've got a good Stalker count. 10, so you're what? I think you're one shot away from actually just one hit in a siege tank. 175, you do 18 damage, but then there is an armor upgrade on a tank. It's naturally got one army, so you're one, I believe you're one Stalker short of a one-shot on the siege tank. Oh, the siege tank just moved forward. Oh, no. Yep, there we go. Siege tank is now going to go down. Marines are coming through. Oh, but the tank going down so quickly. And now the new tank, if that comes out... Okay, how do you approach this? Because this tank's going to come out. Do you blink on it? Because then you've got to be afraid of all those Marines, right? And he's just going to fight the Marines. He's not going to be overly aggressive here. There is, across the map, that single Hellion. And there is the medevac with the Widow Mines in as well. But 2 depots go down. Cure losing the siege. I mean, again, it's just good pressure from Zest as he does start to lose probes. And Hellion now cleaned out. Why is the Widow Mine drop going? Well, probe actually sees it. So at least you're aware as Zest, right? So this shouldn't do major damage. Should just be a pick off here or there. Stalkers do recall in. Is he going to have to blink away? Oh, he's going to have to lose a probe. Okay. Oh, that's a cute play. Moving the Widow Mine to the high ground. Hits the low ground expansion mineral line. I mean, Zest is about to be on 3 bases against a Terran who's just now finally able to, fly an orbital into the natural. So Zest's eco is looking pristine. Those little bit of damage dealt by the Widow Mine was really necessary for Cure to get back into this, more than anything else. Otherwise, Zest would be really off and away with the numbers in his favor. So, some necessary damage from Cure. Zest still playing. Okay, he's got the high ground vision now. He does see that one tank at the front. There's no tank actually in the main base. He's going to blink up. He's just going to move away from the tank. Oh, this is a little bit risky. He's already used his recall, remember? So recall is already on cooldown. So you can't actually recall out of this position. You're going to have to blink out of this position. He's just going to soak a couple of tank shots to get out of here. So, yeah, not really much of a choice. Oh, no. Oh, no. This poor Stalker. He's stuck. No. Behind the minerals. Walled himself in. Yeah, I mean, the tank defense looks as though it should be good enough. Zest shouldn't be able to do too much else there. He still denied what was initially a building reactor, right? That's always a nice little pick-off. Got another depot or so. I mean, I just don't mind that Zest is just keeping the pressure up in general. He's about to have charge, by the way. And he's on his way to a lot more gates. The gateway count not crazy just yet, but if you get a few zealots and then you warp in a few more with those few, I mean, you don't even need to be necessarily using them right now, just waiting for the chance, because the moment that Cure moves out, Zest just wants to be in and on top of this base and really starting to deal damage, because he knows that this is a pretty powerful 2-base attack right now. He knows there's a good tank count, so anything he can do to weaken Cure behind it is only going to be a big win here for Zest. Scan into the natural. As I do see the Observer of Zest still making its way out to the upper right-hand side. Observer up to the top. I'm just going to be seeing that factory down on the reactor. Ghost Academy is building on the back of this natural expansion. Going to see our Stalkers making their way through the center. CC comes through, is just going to land down on the low ground. Stalker still collecting together, the Immortal coming through the middle. Game really does just settle down a little bit, of course. I mean, Cure doesn't want to go pushing. Zest is obviously just happy to tech up. He's on his way to that Dark Shrine with the DT Blink, which will really open up a lot of aggressive opportunities in this game. Obviously, fourth base about to be done for him. He's just, I mean, I feel like Zest is just happy, right? The eco in this game has been good for him. He kind of got to where he wanted to go without really too many issues. And now here we are. Now Shockwaves is on the way on that Ghost Academy, so we are getting those ghosts to have that little bit of additional, radius on the EMPs. The only thing I'm a little worried about for Zest is that there isn't a lot of splash damage in the army. It's kind of like ghosts are like a really good counter to everything that Zest is building at the moment. You know? Everything that Zest is building is just hard countered by ghosts. Because it's a really tanky army that relies on just having shields. So without that, you come into trouble very quickly. Counterattack is set up from Zest. Robo Bay on the way, so we are going to see a future tech here. It's going to be seeing that continue to come on through. As you see our +3 attack upgrade starting up on the Forge, +1 armor will be finishing shortly. Solid Stalker Immortal cleans out set of rocks in the center. There goes the Bioforce. Stalker's coming through. A couple more orders going to get pushed back. Zealots and DTs are going to make their way around the top side and just looking to see they can maybe get done as well. Hallucination comes in. Just going to see the Marines pushing that Hallucination back. Wouldn't mind fires. Hits a couple of these Zealots. Going to see the DTs blinking over. I mean, obviously get rid of that turret, so at least you force a scan. The blink already used. I mean, going to get rid of a few depots, and it's just going to run out of here. Fire Army not going to bother to chase it down. Zest is scary enough that Cure's even left units over here expecting a follow-up attack, but yeah, Zest is going to come clean out the Watchtower. There's the Disruptors coming out, so he's finally going to have a way to deal with Ghosts, and they deal with Ghosts because Ghosts are typically leading the army because they're obviously looking for those EMPs. So if you get the Disruptor, you can force the Ghost back. You can also just in general force disengage while your shields are down if you get EMP'd. Obviously if the Ghosts are at the front and then they try and turn and run away, if the Disruptor clips that army, probably going to get a Ghost kill or two, and that's what we see happen a lot of the time with this kind of Disruptor versus Ghost war that TVP breaks on into. Army of Zest up the right-hand side, maybe wants to go for a bit of a play. Zealot taking damage, Disruptor flies through. Most of the Zealot DT force continue to move around. Medivacs gonna heal up. There's Bioforce. CC's going through this. We're just going to float out to that 12 o'clock position as we do have the Army of Zest. Gonna move on forward. Widowmine targeted up a mine for targeted up a Zealot for a moment. This is going to be seeing the Bioforce of Cure just come through, does push back the Zealot DT force on the upper left. Still very passive. I know there's been like a couple of run-bys and stuff, but I know larger army fights, and maybe that's what we're aiming toward now. And Zest cleans up a Widowmine. 2 upgrades about to kick in from Cure. I was just looking at where the upgrades are from Zest. He's a little bit ahead as his own +2 armor is going to be here momentarily. That's actually not as good a Disruptor shot as I thought it was going to be, but the next Disruptors do okay. Although one of them did go down. Big DT Zealot force caught by Cure's army movement here. More Zealot's going to warp in. Nothing really defensively here to fight this apart from, oh, now 2 observers just went down as well. The MP's on the Nexus, so you can't recall into this position. He's already put himself in the choke point. As the DTs do get EMP'd as well, they're going to fall quickly. This is not going to turn out to be a good fight for Zest. He's bringing a lot of other units back to deal with this. The good news for Zest is that this wasn't a cheap army from Cure either, right, with a lot of ghosts involved. And if he can chase this down and get rid of those ghosts, it might just be okay for him. And Zest has so many minerals and just no gas in the bank right now, as this base on the left side here is going to come under attack. He's going to be hit by this little bit of a push through. 10 workers down, as Zest is just kind of everywhere trying to clean this up. His army supply is struggling, and he's got so much money, but all he can really warp in his zealots, because again, his gas count is low. So with a low gas count struggling along at the moment, just going to be seeing this army around the left-hand side. Disruptor shots coming through. A couple of ghosts going to get picked off. The Raven goes down. These medevacs picked off as well. Tank fire coming in. Sentry Disruptor taking some damage. Oh my god, the Disruptor shots, the last couple of them have just been disgusting. They've done so much. Counterattacks will continue to do a lot though. Zest is in a position of base rate because he's got the money to rebuild for a little while anyway. Like, he's just had the economy this game, so he's got the bank available to him already. As he's already cleaning up these bases and, well, what's actually at home defensively for Zest? No Disruptors, I think, is important to note. He does warp in some Stalkers, as he will continue to clear out this low ground base. On the high ground, the Terran does have a little bit of arm. He's got some libs on the way up, but it looks as though Zest is really the one to come out in the more comfortable position here. Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, no mining on either side. Zest, supply block, though, so he won't be able to use all of the money which he's got banked up. It does mean if he does end up trading, though, obviously, you're then going to be able to rebuild instantly as Zest, whereas Cure has basically no cash at all, so rebuilding is just not an option. Zest is now bringing everything down to this bottom side to try and chase down Cure's army. The intention being, if you can clean this out, then Cure is obviously not in a great spot right now because there's so many units he left back at home, and he actually leaves a bunch of ghosts and marines in this natural, which he just couldn't evacuate in time. And this squad out over here is going to find the units trying to move back through, so Zest's actually going to blink in. Kind of feels like this is a moment for him to fight. He is going to get a Liberator. He's going to get the Vikings too. On the bottom side, this little drop came back through, but I just don't think Cure has what he needs to fight this. And there's going to be seeing the Stalkers blinking on in, cleaning out everything else. GG from Cure, and Zest is going to be our first grand finalist of the WardiTV Spring Championship. GG. Zest 3-1 over Cure. This is a pretty, well, kind of a weird game, actually, more than anything.